So I need you to join with me if you know this. Find a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck. You've heard it before, right? Well, in my life, I literally spent my entire childhood looking down in parking lots and parks. The sound of my own grandfather's voice is completely ingrained in memory. I can hear him encouraging me to search for the good fortune that might just come with the discovery of 1 cent on the ground. As a child, I became hyper-focused on the idea that I could somehow find that penny and create good luck in my life. Eventually, my attention broadened to patches of clover on a quest for that 4-leafed variety. Then I pressed them in the very first volume of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Remember, we used to have those before the internet. It was only used for that purpose. If you opened that first volume, you would find tens or scores of 4-leafed clovers pressed. But as an adult, I must admit I'm a bit out of practice. In a way, I lost interest in the task. But I also think, in some ways, reality just set in. Luck doesn't come in the form of a plant or a coin or even the toss of a little bit of salt over your left shoulder. As for many of us, those childhood games evolve into an adult pursuit of personal success without the help of mystical rituals. Now, this was true for me until recently, when I found 3 pennies on the same day. I picked them up, I waited to see what would happen. Nothing. Curious about what was going on, I looked up the origin of my grandfather's superstition, and I found out that folklore from ancient civilizations taught that metals, like copper, were gifts from the gods. They were intended to protect us humans from evil. So my research got me thinking about that superstition and what might be the Jewish response to that historical data. As I'm sure you all know from your own grandmothers, our cultural identity is ripe with superstitious claims. And it turns out, believe it or not, that there may actually be some Jewish roots to my penny ritual. Specifically, the idea that one should pick up only a penny that is heads up on the ground. Have you heard that before? Leave the ones that are heads down or turn them over so somebody else can find them. That may actually originate from the Jewish idea of the struggle between the good and evil inclinations, or in Jewish terms, Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. Heads means good will prevail. Tails indicates that evil will win. So stay away from all of those face-down coins. It's a good Jewish idea to do so. But still, even when rooted in Jewish tradition, that and all of those other superstitions are just that, fantasies, misconceptions, or as we call them, bubamaises. Sometimes, though, coincidental experiences can teach us something or lead us in the right direction from time to time. And today happens to be one of those moments. This Shabbat, our Parsha begins the book of Deuteronomy, the final book of the Torah. The narrative includes Moses' review of past events, reminding the Israelites of their mistakes and encouraging our ancestors to accept a new and developing religious tradition before they enter the land of Israel. But on this particular year, this Shabbat, the beginning of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, comes in concert with another Jewish ritual tonight and tomorrow as we commemorate Tisha B'Av, remembering the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem and linking the memory of so many other terrible moments in Jewish history. So what can we learn from the alignment of such a beautiful story of our history in the book of Deuteronomy and the tragedies of Jewish tradition? Now, Reformed Judaism doesn't particularly connect with the story of Tisha B'Av. As modern Jews, we aren't really tied to the ancient temple or the sacrificial rituals that took place there. We don't pray for the temple to be rebuilt. We don't mourn its loss. And for most of us, the new book of Torah is nothing to get so excited about, like a coin waiting to be turned into good fortune. But perhaps there is some meaning in the juxtaposition of the Torah portion and Tisha B'Av. Maybe there's something to be learned from this penny on the ground moment. Maybe we're missing a hidden message in the confluence of time and text and space. So in searching for my sermon message tonight, I think I may have found an answer. There may be a way for us to take a lesson from the Torah portion and change the course of our history, thus avoiding disasters in the world. In the opening chapter of Deuteronomy, this week's parsha, Moses provides a solution for the Jewish people to create our own luck. In verse 16, speaking on God's behalf, Moses says, I commanded your judges at that time, talking about an earlier period of Jewish history, to hear disputes between your brothers. So what Moses actually is teaching is the power of hearing other people, paying attention to what is going on around you. And it turns out listening or hearing is an important part of our Jewish tradition. The word Shema appears more than 90 times in some form in this final book of the Torah. It cannot be an accident. From the most prominent place at the beginning of the watchword of our faith to the simple example of judges being good listeners, there must be something that the Torah wants us to know. And here's an idea. Being an active listener, really hearing what other people are saying, is one of the most powerful tools to help us all maximize our potential in the world. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, once the chief rabbi of England, said it best when he taught that listening is a profound affirmation of the humanity of another person. A leader is one who knows how to listen to the unspoken cry of others and to the still, small voice of God. You see, it turns out that Judaism does have a lucky penny, and that penny is embedded within each of us by our tradition. It is the ability to hear someone else's voice. It's taught in the Shema. It is echoed over and over in the Torah. To listen, to really hear another person without judging them or rebuking them, that is a uniquely Jewish skill. It is up to us to develop that innate lucky charm that we have all been given by our tradition. We, the Jewish people, are meant to be a listening people. Listening is a deeply spiritual act. So find yourself this next week, not only making the call that Rabbi Loss asked you to make, but just listening to others. Ask someone else to tell you their story. Listen more than you speak. Just listen. By listening more, all of us will become better able to answer those calls for love, for peace in the world. And isn't this exactly what we pray for when we come to this moment of Shabbat? We pray that we will listen to others, that God will listen to us, and eventually, God will bring peace to the world. God will answer us with the words, I hear you, as we call out, Aneni.